So yeah, thank you everyone for joining this webinar session. It was supposed to be an impromptu session. The idea is to give you a quick introduction of the new platform that we have come up with called Options Desk. So if you go to our homepage on the top and the header, you will find our new platform called Options Desk, which is dedicated to options trading. So we have launched this platform probably a couple of days back, and we are supporting uh, the Indian stock market and the major cryptocurrency options markets like Deribit and Finance. So between Deribit and Finance, I think they almost cover 80 to 90% of the entire options trading that happen in the crypto world. So in terms of coverage, I think we are covering the whole of the Indian market and pretty much 80-85% of the crypto market. So what we are going to try and achieve through this session is give you an introduction. Now I'm a dev, so I'm going to walk you through the platform, the features, everything that you can do with the platform, and you have any questions. So we're going to have a Q&A session at the end of it. But what I wouldn't able to answer to you would be like questions like how do I trade it, or for example, what are the best strategies that you should use in a given bullish or bearish market. So those are more questions that we will probably be answering through some of the traders in our community, userland, in our subsequent sessions. So this is more of a session. Just assume that a software developer is giving you a session. So how is that going to be? This is not a trader. All right. So the way we kind of launch this is, so for example, in the header, you can go and you can click on, so for example, I clicked on the Indian market. So I have two windows open. In one window, I have the Bitcoin live market, which is on Deribit. And then I have the uh, Indian market, which is obviously not trading at this point in time. So I have chosen Nifty as my option. So the way it works is on the top, you will choose your underlying. So so all your options are traded based on an underlying asset. In the case of the Indian market, they're all spot symbols. So I can choose for example, say Bank Nifty. Just give me one moment. I probably need to approve of you guys who are trying to get into the call. All right. So here, what I've done is I've chosen Bank Nifty here, and so what happens is in the top bar, you have the login that we all are aware of in the main platform that we have today, the charting platform. And then you have the markets that we kind of support in here. And then it gives you in the top toolbar gives you some information, some quotes around the underlying that you have chosen. So in this case, this is the spot symbol Bank Nifty, and these are the prices as of traded as of last Friday. So that's pretty much how it is on the top bar. And then there are certain controls on the top bar, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But before I go on, right, so let me first kind of give you a sense of what this platform is all about, right? So the idea was to come up with a unique UI which enables you to kind of customize your workspace just like you do in a desktop application, but on the web and in the mobile. So it it consists of four parts, the whole platform. So there is the top bar that I just talked about, right? There are two side panels which are very similar to what you have in the charting platform today. So like clicking on them will open up let's do it on the Bitcoin. So clicking on, for example, time and sales, this gives you the time and sales for the underlying, which is in this case the BTC USD futures uh, symbol. Then you have a couple of other tabs, like for example, I have the news, which gives you news around Bitcoin because that's the underlying I have in here. Okay. And then on the right hand side, I have some of the brokers that we are integrated with, which enable you to directly trade from our platform. So for example, you could trade directly Bitcoin through a Deribit broker or an exchange. And then you have the watch list, which is very similar to what we have today. Okay. And then there is the very important tab set, as you can see here on the in the top. So these are like tabs where each of the tab is kind of in itself containing some important component of this platform. So we start with something called as the options chain, and then you follow it up with something called as the payoff chart. This is the options strategy building payoff chart. And then you have something called as the price chart that we are all aware of. It is exactly the same charting platform that you have today in the main website, right? That's the charting library. And then we have something called as volatility surface in here. So I'm going to walk you through all of them. But before we go into the depths, right? So first, an introduction on the UI, because we really spent a lot of time on this UI. So we want to make sure that you understand this. Finally, you have the bottom bar where there are two major, components. One is called as the strategy builder. This is where all your strategies are kind of laid out in a grid format. And then you have the ledger. This is where when you are actually paper trading or you are taking real trades, this is where your trades, your orders, your positions, and your balance show up. Okay. Um, Guys, you can stop me anytime if you have any questions. Okay. So what we are going to see here is first that every component in this UI is draggable, droppable, and resizable. So that kind of allows the user to create his own UI depending on his screen size, depending on his resolution, etc. So let's do some quick kind of round of template building. So here I have four components in the form of, like I mentioned, in the in the form of tabs, and I can literally drag and drop any of these tabs into this middle portion and kind of make them into a grid, like a rows and columns. So for example, I have the options chain here. I can literally place my mouse on any of the tabs here. I have placed it on a price chart and I can drag it the way I want. I can make it like a two rows kind of a grid or a two column kind of a grid, or any way I want. The moment I kind of drag it and drop it, that particular component forms a part of the UI. Okay. Do you want me to repeat the step? So let's do this once again. So I'm dragging this and putting it back into the tab so it becomes like a full tab. Okay. And then I drag it and I place it on any side. So in this case, I want to make it a 2x2 column kind of a grid. So on the right hand side, I just placed it. So now in itself, it becomes like two columns, where in the left hand side, I have the usual tabs that we have seen. And then the price chart, which I kind of dragged it out of this tab set, now becomes our right hand column. Okay. If you wish, you can also add more tabs to it. So for example, I can take this volatility surface and I can drag it and place it here in the tabs. Now on the left hand side, you have the options chain and the payoff chart, right? And on the right hand side, I have the price chart and the volatility surface, right? Any questions? Okay. Now, this is just an example of what is possible with the UI. If I wish now, I can also kind of use this payoff chart and place it on the right hand side and make it like split the right hand column into two halves now, right? So now I have on the left hand side the options chain. On the right hand side, I have the payoff chart and the volatility surface. Now, depending on, for example, how big your screen is, how do you want to configure, you can do all of that fun stuff. Okay. So this is an example of how I kind of played with each of these components on the tabs. You could actually do the same with the left hand side as well, right? So for example, suppose I want to have this watch list, right? I can obviously see it here. Right? Let me go ahead and add something, say. Suppose I added a bunch of symbols in here. So I added Ethereum ETH USD here. So now if I wish to kind of So now that I have configured it in this way, every component, when you hover your kind of mouse on each of these splitters, or what I call as the boundary walls, you can drag and drop them and move them. The same applies for the main section that we had created. Okay, everything is draggable, everything is droppable, everything is resizable. So this kind of allows you to create, become very creative about how you want to place your UI, so that you can kind of maximize the amount of information that you get in a particular screen, in your screen, that is more helpful for you to kind of make your decisions while trading. Okay. Uh, so I'm gonna just keep it very simple here. And the other thing is, you could also, if you don't think you like it, you can just literally go ahead and drop it in one of the left hand panels, and then it will come out of the top bar here in this tab set, and it becomes like a side panel here right now. Okay. uh, any questions on the UI? So one of the reasons we wanted to get this options desk is because we were quite impressed and inspired by some of the platforms like Thinkorswim or Tasty Trade, which are mainly used in the US market. And those are mainly desktop applications, but they kind of give you the ability to kind of uh, trade, build your, uh, option strategies and trade using a UI which is more like a terminal than just web pages, right? And every component is integrated with one another through certain, logic. So that's how we kind of wanted to build our platform as well. So which I'm going to explain to you in a moment. But this was the first step to explain to you how the UI works. So this is a step change, quantum change compared to what you see in the main platform today. Okay, so I've just put it on the uh, uh, on a full screen mode, right? So I can choose the theme from here. So this is like the light theme that I have in here in the bottom bar, right? And then you have the ability to kind of save your layout the way. After you have created your own template or your own customized UI, you have the ability to save it here, save app profile. But if you want to go back to the default factory settings, you can use something called as the reset app defaults. Okay. So if this is clear, we will gonna now go to the second part of it, which is, the understanding each of the components within the platform and how it helps you trade. So the major components that I'm going to walk you through today are the ones on the tab set here. I'm going to walk you through options chain, price chart, as we all know, payoff chart, and the volatility surface, right? And some of the settings that you must be either aware of or should be aware of. So to start with, like I mentioned, when we select the underlying asset or the underlying here in the top bar in the search menu, the first thing that will show up is the options chain. So it gives you the options chain associated with the various series that are linked to this particular asset, or underlying. In this case, it is a futures, Bitcoin futures asset. So here in the options chain, you will see in the top bar, there's a settings here in the left, which allows you to choose the fields you want to see in your options chain, which I'm going to walk you through. And then you have something called as what I call as the PNL dashboard. So in the top, you at any point in time, it will show you your positions and your PNL in the options chain. So whatever positions, either through paper trading or through real trades you have taken, it kind of gives you a quick overview of where you stand at that point in time, right? So these are the various series. You will find the dates along with the number of days to expire. So we call it the DT, days to expire. So in this case, there is one series expiring in 1 day, other in 2 days, other in 5, 12, 19, 54, etc. Right? And on the right hand side, you will see certain markers in red and blue. Blue means it is generally bullish, and red means it is bearish in nature. Okay, and when you hover over them, there are certain metrics you will see which are at a series level. So for example, in this series, what it means is the series that is going to expire in next one day, it looks pretty bearish from an option standpoint. It has something called as PCR, or put call ratio in terms of OI, open interest, as 0.72, put call ratio in terms of volume as 0.85. It has a max pain of 36,000, so it's currently trading at somewhere around 36,000 ish. It has a cumulative OI of 550. That is the absolute term, that is not in terms of lot size. That is the absolute number of uh, positions in the OI. And then at the money, IV, or the implied volatility, of 100.74. Generally, cryptocurrency is a highly volatile asset class, and so the IV is quite high compared to some of the traditional markets. For example, the Nifty. Okay, so for example, the same thing, if we kind of go and look at the Nifty, which is the index, you will find that the volatilities are in the range of say 20, 21. Even when I'm choosing something like as Bank Nifty, which is considered quite volatile, the volatilities are way lower compared to something like a Bitcoin. Okay, so moving back to the Bitcoin example. Uh, Now, once you click on each of these arrows, green arrows, these are all collapsible arrows. So you can click them and they kind of expand to show you the option chain underneath that series. So in this case, you have the calls on the left-hand side, the put on the right-hand side, and the strike in the middle. The row which is highlighted here in orange is basically your underlying price. In this case, it is 35,629, the price of the Bitcoin futures. And then you have certain, by default, these are the fields that will be available to you when you open up the option chain. LTP is your last traded price, your change percentage of your price, ask bid, and the open interest, right? These are the by default options. Let me go back to Nifty because kind of makes more sense. Okay, so let me put it on. Yeah, so this is how your option chain look like. I'm sure you understand what an option chain is, so I'm not going to go into the depths of it, right? But in general, the area shaded in yellow, as you can see, is in the money. So the first quadrant of on the call side and the fourth quadrant on the put side is in the money, and the ones which are shaded in pure white are out of the money options right now, right? Uh, just give me, okay. Now let's try and understand some of this. So there are certain fields where the bottom you will actually find the total for this entire series. So for example, in this case, open interest on the call side, it's 8.8 million uh, options that are open, and on the put side it is 6.9 million, as you can see. Now you have the ability to kind of choose the various fields you want, right? So I'm going to add certain important fields that I generally care about. So for example, I'm going to open something called as the paper. So paper is basically a column that gives you, when you are building your option strategies and you are kind of analyzing your positions before you actually take the trade, the paper is the column that will give you the positions that you have taken at every level or strike. Okay, and I'm going to show you that. And the idea of our options chain is it's very unique because we kind of allow you to not only trade but also analyze your entire position from the option chain itself. I'm going to show you that piece. Normally people use something like as a payoff chart, but we kind of made it very simple and visually appealing so that you can actually do the whole entire 9 yards directly from the options chain. Then I'm not gonna walk you through each of the fields, but some of these are important. I'm gonna walk you through them. So you have LTP, which is the last traded price. You have the open, high, low, close, previous close, volume, which we all understand. Let me get the volume in. Okay, so I have probably the volume now added here, and there is an option here. I can go to the top bar and there is a general settings, and in the general settings you'll find in the left hand side something called as options. Okay, so there, so let me try and this explain to you some of these options. This kind of helps you customize your options chain. So the ITM background is basically this shaded part, which kind of shades the in the money options differently. So if I switch it off, the shade goes away. The ITM borders helps you kind of customize your borders. I kind of like it this way, but some people don't like borders, or they want to get rid of it. So this is how it would look like if you don't need borders. You can do some stuff here. And then there are certain things called as bars. So the bars are basically visually represented proportions of what the sizes are of each of the metrics in the way in the entire series. So for example, in this case, in the volume, you have these bars built out, which kind of gives you a sense of the strike prices which probably were traded the highest, right? Kind of POC. And then the same thing you will find in the case of open interest and some of the other fields which we are going to look at, right? then and then when you hover over each of the uh, records, you have the ability to kind of look at. So for example, when I hover on each of these series, right, I get to see some series level metrics. For example, at a series level, whether it is bearish or bullish, what is the PCR, what is the max pain. Now, by default, the option is it will only show on hover, but here in the series statistics, I do have the ability to kind of make it always visible. So if I make it always visible, you can look at all the numbers across all the series. And then when you open your options chain, you will see these buy and sell buttons here as you hover, right? And you have the ability to kind of, if to find them annoying and you don't want to see them, you can make them as hidden and then they go away. Okay. And then finally, you have something called as the pricing model. So the pricing model in general in the Indian market is Black-Scholes, and in the crypto market, for example, in Deribit, there's something called as the Black-Scholes 76, which is the default. And in the US market, they generally use American options, which are more like binary models are being used. All right, so this is at a very high level, some of the important features of the option chain. Now on the top, again, you have the ability to choose the number of strikes you want to see in your option chain. So for example, in this case, I have 32 strikes, but if I have a smaller screen and I want to focus on only the important top four strikes, then I would go ahead with the 8 strikes, and then when you open it, you'll find the top four above and below the uh, underlying price here. The top four strikes above and below the underlying. So you do have the ability to kind of configure how many strikes you want to see in your option chain from the top. The other important fields which I feel are important are, so for example, something called as Greeks, right? So let me get rid of some of the fields here and ask and bid, and let me add some important fields like IV, which is the implied volatility. Now, implied volatility can be on the call side and on the put side, and certain platforms also give you an implied volatility of the entire series by kind of doing an average of the implied volatilities on both sides. So that's one. Then you can add something called as the Greeks. So you have the delta, which we all understand what it is, gamma, which we again should be knowing if you are option trading, something called as vega, theta. We have added one more Greek, which is normally not found in many of the platforms, called RHO. RHO is basically gives you the sensitivity of your options chain price, of your options price, given a 1% change in your interest rate, then you have something. Let's look at them. So this is how it looks like when you add each of the Greeks and the implied volatility to your option chain, and you can mix and match. You can look at. So what we have done is to kind of utilize the space better. You can actually get rid of the remaining uh, Greeks. I can get rid of the gamma, vega, theta, and RHO, and I can just keep the delta in here. And I have the ability to just hover by mouse, and it will show me the remaining Greeks in this uh, tooltip, as you can see here, right? So I can hover over each of these deltas, and it will show me not just delta, but also the remaining Greeks. So it is kind of a quick way to kind of look at all the Greeks and yet, save on your real estate. Now this entire grid is configurable in terms of the size, so you can actually use your mouse and resize each of the columns and kind of make it uh, tighter in terms of the look and feel based on your computer resolution. The other important fields that I wanted to mention were, one is called as OI percentage change. Now OI percentage is very important because it gives you a change in OI compared to previous day. And this is very important right now because it kind of gives you a sense of where the market is moving, and is a clear, very important signal of either the bearish or bullish sentiment in the market. So this is called as the OI change percentage. And then what we have here is something called as the OI marker. The OI marker basically uses a combination of the OI change percentage, which is basically the change in open interest compared to previous day, and the price change, which is basically looking at price and looking at its percentage change from previous day. So it takes these two parameters and determines whether a given contract is either a long buildup, a short buildup, a long unwinding, or a short covering. More details on how it works or how you trade it will be available in the documentation platform, but anyone who has used the indicator called OI Sense in our production charts will know how to kind of trade it. All right. So that was OI change percentage, and OI marker, three important fields related to OI in the option chain. And then we have already talked about Greeks and implied volatility. And finally, some other parameters we're going to talk about is ITM probability, theoretical price, and external price. So any options price is basically an addition of an intrinsic value and an extrinsic value. Okay, so the intrinsic value is basically the value that comes from a particular theoretical model, valuation model like Black-Scholes, which is what is shown here in the field called theoretical price. So for example, in this case, uh, let's take this as an example, right? Uh, the theoretical price is 467, but it is really trading at 463.75, and the difference between these two is called an external price, which is extrinsic price, which is given in here. So this is your intrinsic price, this is your extrinsic price, and addition of these two will give you what we call as the your LTP, right? And then ITM probability is basically the probability that this particular option contract will be in the money. Obviously, the ones which are in the yellow shaded will have a higher percentage compared to the ones which are in white. So that kind of brings us to the end of some of the important fields we are talking about. Now we will move into the maneuverability or the features which will help you directly, take your positions from the option chain and start building your option strategies. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna see is how do you take a position, a paper trade on option chain, right? So for example, I have this particular series which is going to expire in 4 days on the 10th of June, and probably I want to take a position here, right, in this particular call option, and I want to buy this option. So if you want to buy, and you have the bid and the ask columns. You can directly click on them. So clicking on bid, okay, I repeat, clicking on bid means that I want to take a buy position. Clicking on ask means I want to take a sell position. Okay, so if I click on the bid, it will show me, give me the size that you want to kind of trade, paper trade. So in this case, the size is not in terms of lot in our platform compared to some of the platforms. It is actually the absolute term. So in this case, for example, Bank Nifty, I think, I don't know what the lot size is, but I'm assuming if it's 75 or 50 or 25, you're going to add that particular number here. Okay. So suppose it's 25, I don't know. So when I add it, it will show here that this has been added to the strategy builder, and it will directly appear under paper. The reason it is in green is because you have taken a buy position here. If it were a sell, then it would have been in red, and it would have shown minus 25. So let me go ahead and take a sell position here. So I'm going to now take a sell position here. And in order for me to be able to do so, I'm going to click on the ask here. Okay, ask is for sell, bid is for buy. I'm going to take another position here. So now you can see that I have taken a sell position here and shows up under paper. This is minus 25, which is sell, and plus 25 in green means buy. Okay. Once you have taken this position, there are and you can see that the PNL has directly changed accordingly. So I was in red before, and now it has changed to plus 45 rupees. Uh, uh, Positive, right? So once you take positions, you'll start seeing next to this strikes certain red and green bars. As you can see, if you focus on my mouse, you will see these green and red bars. These are actually telling you your positions if the price go to a certain level. So for example, if the price right now is at 35,000, give me one moment. If the price right now is at 35,339 for Bank Nifty, right? And if it goes to a level of 34,600, which is goes down, given the positions that I have taken in here, my PNL is going to look, how is my PNL going to look? So if you hover, you can see that it is going to be at minus 17,220. Now as the price keep going up, from 34,000 to 34,600 to 34,700, my PNL starts looking better. Okay, and finally it turns green when the price, which is right now at 35,339, goes beyond 35,600. That's when I become positive. So this is you can say this is a payoff chart, but kind of visually it is shown directly on the options chain. So instead of showing it in the form of a chart, which we already have, we are also kind of giving you the entire PNL analysis here on the options chain itself. So now using the option chain itself, you can kind of take your positions and visualize them on the grid. Okay, so now that we have covered this, the next part is to understand, okay, how do I actually trade from here? So I'm going to get to that, but before I do that, certain other functionalities. So if you click on ask and bid, like I've explained, you can directly take the paper positions in here, and these paper positions will also show up in your payoff chart, which I'm going to show you in a while, and in your strategy builder in the bottom. Now these are the two paper positions that I've taken, and as you can see in the bottom, there is a line, which is basically, you will find again a collapsible accordion or a collapsible line item, which you can click, and it will give you the details of the various legs of your strategy. So this is a paper strategy you have taken. Okay, and every strategy is given a color code. So let me make it dark so that you can see it. So as you can see, this paper trade that I have taken, this paper strategy, is color coded in gray color, and I'm going to show you that you will see the same gray color on the option chain itself, which you can hover. So for example, here you can quickly look at the various calendar series, and you know that you have taken a position here. As you hover over it, it will tell you this is the name of the position you have taken, which is in this case paper. Okay, so this paper position had two legs like I have shown here. So there was a plus 25 call and a minus 25. That means you bought certain call options and you sold certain put options. So here you can see that you have bought 25 quantity of this particular contract, which will expire in 4 days and a strike price of 35,500, and you have sold again same quantity in another put option here. So this is your LTP, this is your entry price, the price at which you entered your paper trade or your real trade, and this will give you your PNL, okay, which is adding up to this 45, the same 45 you will see here on the top. So it gives you a breakdown of the PNL at a leg level, the implied volatility at a leg level, and also the Greeks. Like I mentioned, you hover over the delta and it gives you all the important uh, metrics when you hover over it in the form of a tooltip. So you can see all the delta, gamma, beta for all your particular legs. And then at a strategy level, you can look at also your complete PNL, which is in this case summation of the two legs PNL, which is $45, your premium, your pop is your probability of profit. So what is the probability that this particular strategy is going to make you money is 41.8%. And then at a strategy level, what is your delta, what is your gamma? So it is basically a weighted average of the gammas or the Greeks of your underlying legs. Okay, so this is a strategy builder that kind of gives you the same information as is there in the option chain, but in a slightly different format. But it gives you a lot of other functionalities that we are going to walk you through in some time. Okay, I'm actually getting tired speaking so much, but I'll continue. All right, so this is your option chain. Now you also have the ability, other than bid and ask, if you right click on any of the particular records, it gives you a what you call as a context menu. Now through the context menu, you can directly push a trade, a buy or sell, or you can do what we just did, add certain positions to the strategy builder and analyze them before you actually start trading them. Okay, so these are the two positions that I have taken in the strategy builder. You can either go through the ask and the bid column by clicking on them, or you can right click on any of the other columns and directly choose whether you want to take a buy or a sell. Okay, and then there are certain other options that are very, very helpful. If you want to place this particular contract right directly in your, what do you call, suppose you have taken this position, right, and you want to place it in your watch list, you can directly add it to your watch list, and once added, you will find that particular field is now added. As you can see here, the bank nifty position that you have taken is now added to your watch list. Okay, the other thing that you can do here is you can look at the metadata of that particular contract. So you can do a symbol info and it will give you, for example, in this case, the contract size, the tick size, and all the important parameters that you want to know about this particular options contract. You can download the entire series in an Excel with this option. I'm not going to do it here, but you do have the ability to download the options in your Excel. And the feature that I probably like the most is add to chart. So basically, if I have like a 2-column chart, right? So I have bank nifty in here, guys, okay, which is the spot symbol, because this is the underlying. But at the same point in time, at some point, I want to see the chart of the underlying contract, right? I can choose any contract I want. So for example, I can right click here and I can do add to chart. Okay, once I add to chart, now this particular chart is not the chart of the underlying, but is now the chart of the actual options contract that I'm interested in. Any questions on this, guys? So as you can see, I quickly went from plotting kind of tracking the underlying asset, which is bank nifty spot, to now a bank nifty options chart. Okay, and I can keep doing the same. I can just move around and just, I want to plot this chart, and then that particular chart appears. So this is how you can do you can actually track, for example, in this template, I'm tracking the options chain in the left hand side and the particular options contract on the chart on the right hand side. So this is a very unique feature. I don't think any of the platforms have the ability to give you such features, but this is very powerful, and I'm going to explain to you in certain well what are the other powerful things you can do. Okay. Now, at any point in time, I just forgot to mention that if you are in a like a multi-grid format that I am in, and you want to focus on a particular component, say I want to focus on the option chain, so I have the ability to maximize that particular window, as you can see with this maximization button, and then that particular window becomes maximized while others get minimized. And it will also kind of start blinking in red, meaning that this is a maximized field and there are a maximized window and there are other windows running in the background. Okay. Now, as far as trading is concerned, like I said, you can either right click and go to add trader buy sell, or directly use this buy sell buttons that we have in here. These are convenient buttons. So I kind of click on buy and sell. So right now we haven't enabled any broker trading on the on the Indian market. But for example, in the case of the uh, in case of crypto market, we are already integrated with Deribit. So if you want to directly start trading on Deribit, you can just click on buy. You can choose Deribit here, right? And obviously you need to log in using the brokers button here. Like click on, you put your, uh, API key secret, you log in, and then you can directly start trading from here. Okay. But I'm going to kind of show you if it's possible right now. I'm not sure if it's possible, but if, for example, if I use the paper trader, which is go charting, I can probably take some positions in here. I'm just making it up. So if I take, say, for example, 25, I can take a market order, and then I can take whatever profit, stop loss, whatever you want to do, and directly trade from here. Once you start pushing real trades, they will start appearing here in the ledger under my trades, my orders, my positions, and my balance. Okay. So that was all about option chain that we know. Okay. And then what we also do have is, I'm going to push this back. Okay. Now, what we have also created is something called as a heat map version of the option chain. So you can go on the top and you can choose something called as heat flow. Okay. Once you choose on heat flow, let me make it like 100 rows and 40 symbols. Okay. So what it does is, let me make it. Okay. So okay. I'm going to walk you through this second component here, which is basically a variation of the option chain. What it does is it kind of enables you to view the option contrasts across all the series that we have seen. So in the standard view, you had it, every series has its underlying option chain. Now, if I combine, for example, now if I were to combine this particular all the series, all the options chain across all the series in a cross-sectional view, then you will come to something called as what we have as the heat map. Now let me explain to this. On the middle, in the middle, you have the strike, right? And this is your underlying, which is very similar to what we know of in an option chain. On the left hand side are all the calls across various series. So for example, the first column C naught is basically the call of all the options that is going to expire on 10th of June. Okay. The next column C1 comprises of all the calls that are going to expire on 17th of June, then 24th of June, then 1st of July, etc., etc. Okay. So basically the nearest one to the strike price is the one that is going to expire in a few days. Okay. It has the nearest expiry, and from there on you go out months, out weeks, etc. Similarly, on the put side, P naught is basically all the put options that are going to expire on 10th of June. Then you start going to the 17th of June, the far out weeklies, then the monthlies, annuals, quarterlies, etc. Okay. Now, what it enables you to do is, so for example, in this case, once you click here in the options, you have something called as the heat map metric. So what metric you are kind of looking at. So what do these numbers mean, right? In this case, this number is determined by what you choose here in the options. In the options, I have chosen open interest here under heat map metric. Okay, so it is kind of giving you the open interest across all these calls and puts across all series. And the color coding is based on OI percentage change. So for example, if the OI percentage change has gone up from previous day, it is in green in color, and the darker shade in green means higher intensity or has opened in greater proportion, right? And similarly, red means the OI has actually gone down from previous day close. And again, it's gradient shaded, so darker the shade, higher the intensity. Okay, now you can look at the same thing in terms of, so for example, I can choose, for example, OI percentage change also. So you can actually look at the percentage change that has happened, in OI across these various option contracts. And the other thing that I personally like is you can look at the gammas across all the series. You can look at the deltas. You can look at all the Greeks. Okay. Another thing I generally look at is the OI sense. The OI sense, again, like I mentioned, it gives you, quickly you can view, the sentiment across the entire, across the, across all the options chains, across all the series. So in the near future, there seems to be a more of a short buildup on the call side, and there is a mix of short buildup and long buildup on the put size in Bank Nifty. So basically, there is some shift in sentiment happening after 34,900. So from 35,000 onwards. Similarly, what is the rather, midterm or long-term view that the traders have taken, option traders have taken, the option buyers and sellers, that is something that you can quickly look at from this OI sense heat map view. Now, how do you exactly interpret this? This is going to be a separate topic in itself. How do you kind of make sense of this signal and take your positions? This is going to be a separate video in itself, and I'm going to have one of our traders from our community actually provide you that kind of insight. I'm just a dev, guys, so I'm just going to give you what is possible through the platform. Any questions so far? Okay, so that kind of brings us to the end of the options chain piece. The next component that we are going to focus in is the payoff chart. Now we have already seen what generally what we see is what is a payoff chart. So in this case, like I mentioned, so I have the payoff chart on the top, and in the bottom I have the strategy builder open. So basically both are saying the same information. There's no difference. One is in a graphical chart format, the other is in a grid format, and each of them have their own convenience buttons to achieve the same end result. So depending on what you like to use, some people trade off option chain only, some people like to do it on the payoff chart. So depending on what your liking is, or a mix of them, you can choose what you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through some of the functionalities of the payoff chart and the strategy builder as a combined template. All right, so these are the two positions that I have taken. So give me one moment, guys. Okay, so here in this chart, like I had seen before, I had taken two positions. I had bought a call and I had sold a put. So these two are showing in the form of these two markers. Green means bought, and sorry, my bad. If you have bought it, the arrow will be showing on the top side, and if you have sold, the arrow will be showing in the bottom side. And if it's a call, then it is shown as C with a green color, and if it's a put, it's shown as P with a red color. And when you hover over this, it kind of gives you more information. So for example, it was a put buy, sorry, it was a call buy on an expiry on a series that will expire in 4 days at a strike price of 35,500, and entry was at 358.15. So that's what it is. Okay, and here you have two axes, the right hand axis and the left hand axis. The right hand axis right now is configured to give you the PNL, so you can choose what you want on your right hand axis, on your left hand axis. So you have the ability to look at the PNL on the right hand axis, right? And on the left hand axis, some people like to look at some of the Greeks, and these are the Greeks that have been created at your strategy level. So in this case, it is, a combination of the Greeks of all your legs that uh, you have in your position. So you have the gamma, delta, vega, theta. So many of the platforms actually give you the strategy level Greeks, but in this platform, you actually get to see it in the graphical format and across the various strike prices, not just at the current underlying price, but across various strike prices. So you can actually look at and understand as the underlying prices. Just give me 1 second, guys. So you can actually look at, sorry, my bad. So actually you can, in this case, look at how the Greeks are going to kind of pan out as the underlying prices go either higher or lower, or is range bound. So for convenience right now, let's keep it as gamma on the left hand axis. So this green line, as you can see, is a gamma. And let me make it darker in shade. So on the left hand, and this is your PNL. So let's take this position here. Okay, so what I've done here is I've kind of moved my mouse on one of the markers, and you can actually move it where you want. You can actually change your position here directly if it's a paper trade, right? Once you have taken a real position, they will also show up here in this chart in the form of markers, but you won't be able to move them with your mouse because they are fixed in stone, right? So what it shows here is, as you hover over the chart, you can actually see that what is your max profit. So the in this case, it is actually moving to plus infinity. My minimum profit is moving to minus infinity. My risk reward, my pop, which is at 34% here, like I have seen here, and I've just changed my position a little bit. So and I'm going to show you that once again. And then what is my total premiums going to be, right? And then you do have the ability to see, for example, the line in white is my on expiry, and the line in blue that you can see is my on target PNL. And then all the delta, gamma, theta, vega, and RHO, the Greeks are also available in this tooltip. So when I hover over this chart with my mouse, all of these positions show up according to the scale. Okay, you do have the ability to zoom in. Okay, you do have the ability to zoom out. You can pan it. It is very interactive. And here in the top, you get to see what I call as the theoretical position of the underlying. Okay. So if you want to, for example, you are in a position like this, right, as you can see, and you want to kind of move your position, or you want to kind of see what happens if I, for example, don't want to take this position. So I can either deselect any of the legs, right, directly from here. In this case, I have deselected it here in the grid, and as you can see, that position is now transparent. So it means it is no longer being uh, factored in my total computation, right? And it is just like a naked put that I have in here. This is the chart of a naked put. So as I click it back, right, my combined strategy of a call and a put show up. Okay, I also have the ability to do the same by right clicking here, and I can say toggle selection, and it will pretty much do the same thing. Okay, so that's one convenience feature. The next is if I want to change the position, the quantity of any of these legs, I do have the ability to just directly click on, for example, like as you can see here, I have the size on my mouse. I can click on it and I can change the position. So for example, instead of 25, I'm making it, I'm going to take 100 as the position and edit it, right? The payoff chart will automatically change accordingly. Similarly, I can make any kind of configuration changes, and my payoff chart will move accordingly. Okay. Uh, and it's all happening in real time. It's all interactive. So, and I also have the ability to change my entry position. So if you want to back test and you want to see if I were to enter this position at not at 126.4, but I'm making it up 120, right? Then how would my PNL look like? It is going to be better, worse, whatever. What is would be my change in my probability of profit, my POP? How's my PNL gonna shape up? So all of these changes, as you can see, when I moved it from 126 to 120, my PNL went up, my profitability also went up, my probability of profit went up. So everything kind of changes real time. So that, and then at any point in time, I also have the ability to permanently remove a particular leg. So I can right click here and I can either choose, remove item. Okay. In that case, it is just gone from the computation, or you can actually close a position. Okay. And if you close it, then you have to enter the price at which you will basically you are exiting. In this case, it's a theoretical price. I'm making it up. Say I put it as 135, right? So all of a sudden, my PNL has changed. Okay. And the whole chart has changed in here. Now that I've changed the position, and you will see that there is a red color ring here associated with this marker, while it is green. Red means the position is closed. In this case, once it's closed, you cannot move it anymore. Yeah. And green means it's still open, so you can actually hover over your mouse and change your position and make all these changes. The same thing will appear here. Okay, whenever you take a paper trade, it will show up in the form of, all open positions will show up in the form of a green ring, and all closed position in the form of a red ring. Okay, you could do the same thing by clicking on this cross button, as you can see on the on this marker, and it will basically do the same thing, enable you to enter your exit price, and you can uh, move out of that position. One of the good things about our strategy builder is once you have exited a position, it does not go out of computation. The PNL still kind of holds it. So for example, in this case, the PNL was 735 before when it was open. Now that I've closed it at an exit price of 135, as you can see on my mouse, the PNL has now changed to 1550. Okay. So that is one of the examples that I just wanted to lay it out for you. Okay, now this particular example that I've given may make 0 sense to a trader, right? Because this may not be the most profitable option position, but this is just my means as a developer to show you the functionalities. Okay, now at any point in time, if you want to place a real trade here, you can again right click and place order, and it will again show up the trading panel, and you can directly place your order here. Once you place the order, that will also show up in this payoff chart directly. But for example, in this case, it shows as paper. There will be a new line item that will get added, and it will show as a real, which means that those are real positions you have taken. And in the options chain, uh, there is a particular column called real, and basically all your real positions will show up somewhere here under real column, right? So that's how it's going to be like. Okay, so we're going to start all over again, a revision kind of a thing. So I'm going to clear all my positions. So there's a button called clear paper. Okay, or there's a button called here trash, right? So when I click on it, it kind of clears all my strategy windows, right? And I can start from the scratch. Okay, like I've already explained to you, you can directly take a position from your option chain. Okay, or there are more methods of doing so. Okay, here in the top there are a few buttons which directly enable you to take your position. So if you are probably in a template like this where the option chain is not visible to you, but you still want to take your positions, there are multiple ways of doing it. So for example, when there is a bottom bar, right, and there are certain days written there, 4D, 11D, 18D, they all mean that these are the number of days to expire, and when you click on them, it actually gives you a very shortened view, an abridged view of the option chain, and you can directly take your positions from here as well. But these are real positions, okay? These are not paper positions that you want to take, because the buttons are real trading buttons. But it quickly gives you a sense of where the market is and how the options chains are moving. Okay, so even in this particular template that I have in, you do have the ability to view the option chain, your and your payoff chart and your strategy builder together, right? So that's also one of the ways. The second way is, right, I can click on this search button and it will open up this panel, and here it will give you a list of all the option contracts. So you can directly, if you have a sense, right, so for example, I want to take a position at 34,000, right, in the I don't know, July 21st series, then you can directly click here and you can put the number of contracts that you want to paper trade in, 75 or something, and then you can just enter and it will directly show up here. Okay, so that's another way of doing it. Then there is a plus button which enables you to directly add the underlying to your strategy. So in this case, it's a spot. So if I click on here, it basically means I have taken one share of that particular underlying, which is Bank Nifty in here. So this is more like a spot chart or a future chart uh, of your PNL. Okay, and it shows as U means underlying, and underlyings definitely, uh, uh, it will it basically underlines, you won't be able to move the underlines anywhere. So even if you were to move and you open it, it wouldn't allow you to move the underlines. So that's the third method is, there are 40 built-in strategies directly in our platform. So so this is the third button, which is a box shape. You can either do it from here on the top, or you can do it here in the bottom in the strategy builder itself. So it says symbol lookup, add underlying, or add strategy. So when I click on add strategy, it will give me the list of all the strategies. So we have 40 plus built-in strategies that are categorized into bullish, bearish, volatility, and arbitrage strategies. So you can click on any one of them, or you can directly, so iron condor, put spread, call spread, calendar spread, synthetic long call. So these are various, you know, built-in strategies that we have in here. So for example, I can use something like called as a long back spread, right? And here in the top, I can choose on which series I want to use it in. So for example, I want to use it in a series, say the July series, the monthlies. I can choose from here and I can directly add it, apply it to my chart. And once applied, the PNL changes. And as you can see in the bottom now, I have taken a paper trade on the underlying, which is Bank Nifty spot, right? And I've also used a pre-built in strategy, which is long call spread. And when I click on it, the various legs of this long call spread show up. Okay. So now, instead of one strategy, we are playing with two strategies in here. And at any point in time, if you want to remove a given strategy, you can directly click on this delete button, right? And it will remove it from the PNL analysis. So like this, every strategy can be, and you can also deselect a given at a strategy level, you can deselect it. So once I've deselected, you're basically right now looking at only a long call back spread right now. Okay. And now that so let me get rid of this paper trade in here. Okay, now I only have a long call back spread, but this is a built-in strategy, right? Now this built-in strategy also gives you the same uh, uh, ability or maneuverability to change your size, your entry positions, etc., right? And you can also actually right click on each of the the each of these legs, right, and place your order, just like we kind of right clicked here and tried to place a order or edit size or close a position. You can do the same, all of these things directly from the strategy builder itself. Okay. So these are certain convenience buttons that we have given. Now what they do is basically at a strategy level. So if you have many legs within a given strategy and you don't want to go and change the sides, buy to sell, sell to buy, just to kind of, you want to flip the sides, you can just click on this reverse button and it will kind of, quickly reverse your entire the positions of each of the legs, or basically your entire strategy gets flipped. So this is how the chart will look like, and if I reverse it, this is how it looks like, right? So this is the reverse thing. And then at a strategy level, so for example, right, if you want to increase the size, of all the legs uniformly, right, then you can use this plus button and it will kind of increase the size across the board, or you can decrease it at a, uh, across the board, which will be applicable on all of the legs under a given strategy. Then you have certain other features. So for example, spread plus, basically spread, what it does is the spread will basically uh, will kind of increase or decrease the spread that you have taken, uh, as you can see, across all the strike prices. So basically it will move all the strike prices uniformly across the board, right? So that's what a spread does. And so let me and then calendar, what it does is, so for example, this particular contract that I have, I've kind of taken it on this particular series, which will expire in 18 days, the July series. So the spread, what it does is it helps you, no this calendar spread, what it does is it helps you move your positions from one series to the other directly. And all of these things can be done on the paper trades. Nothing of this sort can be done on the actual trades, because you've already taken those positions. Now you can't change them. So these are the some of the uh, uses. And then if you want to directly do a basket trade, right, trade all of the legs together, then you would use something called as this trade button, and it will basically place the orders, market orders on all of these legs simultaneously on the exchange. Okay. uh, Let me get rid of, okay. Now other than this, there also you have the ability to what you do a what if analysis. So what if analysis kind of gives you a sense of how this entire PNL is going to shape up if there's a change in your volatility. So if I move the volatility, as you can see, there's a dotted line that will show up, and it will kind of tell you as the volatility goes down, it will more or less kind of have some elasticity in place, and it is going to move directly towards this white line, which is the on expiry line. Similarly, you can move it on either side, right? Same is the case with time decay. So right now you have 18 days to expire, but as you kind of keep moving it, right, on the last day, on the 18th day, it will be same as if we were to expire it today. So that's what this time decay does. And the underlying percentage just tells you, basically moves this marker on the underlying. It tells you if the spot price were to change, or the underlying future price were to change, then how your PNL is going to look like, projected PNL is going to look like. Okay, so that's your what if analysis. You do have the ability to make certain changes to your chart. So you can add grid lines, you can remove the legends, which is these tool tips. You can remove the watermark, which I have in here. You can remove these markers, which if you don't feel like and you are not accustomed to these markers, you can get rid of them. And then the zoom buttons, which I have just mentioned, which enable you to zoom in. So and this color button really helps you kind of customize your chart the way you want to see it. And we also have the ability to, for example, draw certain shapes and lines. So for example, you can move you can draw some certain shapes and size on this chart itself, on the payoff chart, depending on what you want to do, or if you want to add some notes in here. So for example, I can just quickly, add some notes on this chart. uh, so for example, take this position. Any notes that you want to take on this particular trade, like, you can just add it in the form of text here, like I have shown. Okay, that kinds of pretty much sums up 70% of the features that were of importance, at least in the initial introductory session. Now we are going to have a separate video created for each of these various components, but that was in a nutshell some of the things that were important from a strategy builder standpoint. Okay, now we move to the price chart. Okay, now let me take this bank nifty. Now there is some more work that we need to do on the price chart. Okay, this is the spot chart of bank nifty. Now, one of the questions people have is, I have a futures subscription. How do I see my futures chart, or how do I see my options chart? So the options chart I've already shown you, right? So if you have the price chart on the right hand side or anywhere you want, and you can just simply go to any of the contracts, right click and add to chart, and it will show you the underlying option chart, right? In the case of futures, what we are thinking is, right now futures chart is not enabled in this platform, but hopefully in a week or so we are going to add a drop down in here, and you should be able to choose the spot futures or the options, whatever you want to, for that particular underlying asset, which is bank nifty. Okay, now what are the some of the important things that additional features we have added to this options price chart compared to the other platform, the normal charting platform? So one of the things that we have added in here is, so rest of the functionalities are pretty much the same. You have the ability to change your what do you call, your time frame. You can, so suppose this is the daily chart, you have the ability to choose your chart type, and you can actually do pretty much everything that you have been doing in the main platform. You can choose your indicators, your drawings, etc., everything, right? Everything is possible. Now some of the important things that we did add here are, so for example, suppose I am right now here in this price chart. uh, so this is a bank nifty spot chart in here, right? And let me go back. So this is your spot chart, and we know that we have taken certain positions in here, right? So there was a position that I had taken here, right, in this option chain. So I have taken certain positions here. So one of the unique things that we have done is, you should be able to view, when you are viewing the underlying chart, we have given, normally in other platforms you can only look at the positions that you have taken on that particular symbol. So in this case, if I have traded bank nifty, I can see the bank nifty positions here in my chart, right? But what we have done is, we have given you an ability to actually view the positions that you have taken, the options positions that you have taken associated with a particular spot or a futures chart. So here is the underlying, which is bank nifty. Okay, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to add all my paper positions that I have taken. Okay, and as you can see, this is the particular position. This is the particular position at 35,700 strike that I had taken, and it shows up directly on my price chart of the underlying, which is bank nifty. Okay, so my option positions are now showing up in my bank nifty spot chart or future chart, and it will show me the PNL, and it will be real time and get calculated real time mode. And the reason it is in green is because I think I am in profit. uh, and it will turn to red if I am in loss. Okay, and it also gives you it says, if I could zoom in, you could actually see. Let me try and see. Okay, it actually tells you also the name of the strategy associated with the position you have taken. In this case, it's long call back spread. And and you should also be able to see your real positions. Okay, I haven't taken any real position here, market is closed, but these are the real positions or the paper positions or the PNL, your entire PNL that you can see here right now. Okay, so this is one of the very important features that I wanted to highlight, which is not available in the in any other platform in the market, or for that matter in our main charting platform, because now you are able to see your option positions that you have taken on the underlying spot or futures chart. So many of the traders I know are index traders, and you are trading on your options, but you are tracking the price of your spot or your futures because that's the underlying. So now with this, you would be able to now take positions, analyze them directly on the price chart of the underlying, and then it kind of makes it more, kind of brings a single view to the entire universe. Okay. The other important thing that we have done is, again, here in the price chart also, we have given you the ability to look at your an abridged version of the option chain directly from here. So you can look at the positions and you can start trading directly using the buy and sell buttons from here, looking at your spot or your futures chart on the particular options. Okay, you have the choice of all the indicators you want. You have the choice of all the order flow features that you might be using in our platform. So it's kind of fully loaded. The other important thing that I wanted to show you is, and again, in the bottom also, you do have the same convenience button that we showed you in the payoff chart. So you can directly place your positions from here, right? Or you can, you do have the ability to search again on any of the option contracts before you place a paper trade. So all the paper trading buttons or convenience buttons that you need, to select a given contract is available here in the bottom of the price chart. And then we also have something called as the OI profile. Okay, so the OI profile probably makes more sense on a 1D chart because it kind of gives you a better view of it. So let me try and explain to you what it is. So the OI profile, once you add it in, right, and let me zoom in, it what it does is it now is going to show you all the open interest positions people have taken on the call side and on the put side. So this is the contra series that will expire on 10th of June. Okay, in the next, this is the nearest expiry. On the nearest expiry, now I'm able to see that these are the various open interest positions on the call, and these are the red ones are on the put. So the right hand side is put and the left hand side is call. Now I can, based on this, I can expand, and now I can see the open interest of all the series across the board, right? So this is the nearest um, series that is going to expire in next 4 days, then the 11 days, then the monthly start, etc. Now you have the ability to combine the open interest across various uh, you know series to see which are the areas of major resistance and support. So for example, now I can take my very important horizontal line and I can keep making these markers here, right? So this is one of the places where I see a good support or resistance, and I can keep adding all of these positions in here. So this is one position that I might be interested in, right? So uh, so these are various tricks that I can play using this open interest profile. So these are various levels that I have drawn, and this is real-time generation of bullish, bearish, buy, sell signals. This is not based on some random historically drawn regression statistics indicator. These are real-time information, so it is very close to being what we call as order flow options trading. Any questions, guys? Okay, at this point in time, we are now left with only one final component, which I call as the volatility surface. So this is the I'm going to show it in the Bitcoin chart, because this kind of makes more sense on the Bitcoin. So this is the Bitcoin chart. This is what we call as the people call it the volatility skew. Somebody calls it volatility smile curve, whatever you want to call it. So basically, it does is basically it plots the implied volatility across the various strike prices. Now you do have the ability by choosing this plus button to kind of select all the other series, and you can actually now have a multi-series kind of view where you are looking at how the implied volatilities are shaping up across the various series. Now, how do you trade it? Why is this body of information important? That is a subject of another webinar. Okay, but this is just the functionalities that I'm going to walk you through this. Okay, so that is one. And now on the left hand side of this volatility surface component, you have the ability to choose the indicators you want. So I have the volatility smile in here, but if I want to look at the max pain, I should be able to do that. And maybe I choose the one that is good. So the volumes aren't great, to be honest, in the crypto market. So I'm going to shift to the traditional market just to give you a better sense of how the how something like max pain. So this is your max pain chart in the bottom, and you can now every panel is configurable, so you can click on here, and in place of max pain you can have something like, say, the premium chart, you know, or you can plot the open interest or the options volume. So this kind of gives you an ability to kind of quickly scan through the entire option chain series and look at the various important metrics that help you take up your positions. More to come on each of these components, so where a trader is going to walk you through and explain to you how each of the components help them trade, right? But this is a quick overview of the major components of what we call as our options desk platform. At this point in time, I think I will open up the forum for any questions.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah.
So this option Y profile is available for the. Is there any data pack required for that one?
Yeah. So um, let's try and understand. So right now, what we are doing is once you have the options desk open, right? So it comes with all of these components and the price chart. Okay. So the all of the other components other than price chart, right, is right now available to pretty much all our data subscribers for free. Okay. So the data is live, whether you have taken a spot or you have taken a futures or an options data pack, you will get to see uh, live data on all of these components, right? But the price chart, whether it is the update on the price chart, it is dependent on what is your underlying data pack. So if you have taken a spot, so the spot chart will keep updating, right? If you have taken a futures, and when we add the futures in here, the futures chart will keep updating real time, right? But at the same time, so for example, as you can see, this is a Bitcoin chart which is getting updated on a real-time basis. So if I have this particular data pack, this will be updating real time, right? Same is the case if you have taken an options data pack and you choose to chart any of the options contracts by using this add to chart feature, then those option charts will keep updating. Okay, so your price chart will update based on your data pack, but this OI profile is really coming from the options chain component, so that is available and will update real time for pretty much all our data subscribers.
Okay. So the other one is if I want to see any option in a footprint or volume profile, how can I see that one?
So for example, say this is the option chart, okay, and I place the price chart in here. Okay. So this is Bitcoin. Let me go to, say, Nifty. Okay.
Can you tell me how did you come to two screens? Which option you clicked?
Okay, okay, okay. So first of all, this was part of the first session. The first session of our webinar was focused on this aspect of how do you kind of customize your workspace. Okay,
Okay,
so
okay,
by default you will have this screen. Okay, when you
okay,
open, right? And then
okay,
all you have to do is these all of these components, these tabs, as you can see, are all draggable and droppable. Okay, so I
okay.
can literally drag it with my mouse and place it anywhere I want. So in this case I've
Understood.
placed it to the right hand side, so it becomes like a two.
Understood.
Okay,
Yeah,
so let me remove all my positions that I have taken and remove all of this. Okay, so suppose I want to do order flow charting along with options chain. Okay, so now I'm in
yeah,
bank nifty and I'm going to say, for example, making it up, so I'm going to go to say the series which will expire in, say, I'm making it up, say 11 days. Okay, and I go to this chart and I say add to chart. So now what happens is the underlying spot symbol is now, this does not seem to be a very liquid, uh, no, not very liquid at all. No, let me choose another series, guys.
yeah.
Sorry.
You can take the current one, the 4 days one.
Okay, suppose I take this add to chart. Okay,
Okay,
okay, so this series I have. Okay, this is an option chart that I have in here. Okay, and I want to now use for order flow. So now I want to do is, on the chart type I will choose, say, cluster chart or imbalance chart, whatever you feel you use. And then as you, and it works pretty much exactly the same way as you'd have used your your normal terminal. Okay,
normal terminal.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly the same. You will go to the settings, you will go to order flow. Okay, you'll probably put auto mode or whatever tick multiplier you use. Okay,
yes.
and use the same set of indicators and order flow features that you use in the normal terminal.
Yeah. Currently, I have a future data pack. So, can I able to access this one in a live option
Uh, so,
chain one?
so this is the options chart. So if you have the futures, you will be able to use it on the futures chart. Okay. Now the futures
Okay,
chart, like I said, by default, the chart that comes in options desk is the spot chart, because spot is the underlying of the NSE options market. Okay.
okay, okay.
And then these options chain allow you to plot the options chart, but the futures chart is something that is right now not enabled, but in a week or so you should be able to see another drop down on here where it will say basically, choose the spot chart or the future chart. So you can choose the future chart from here and the future chart will show up here
So currently, I can't able to see with the future data pack.
for
Am I
the
right?
next 1 week now.
Okay. And one small, suggestion in the option chain,
Hmm.
please, give the headings for the current, next, and future. You know, all the tabs which are giving the 4 days, 18 days.
Hmm.
So if you categorize with the current and next kind of stuff with the headings, so that would be easier to navigate the option chain. You got my
Understood. So
point?
you want like a marker saying weekly, monthly, something like that.
No, I mean current. If you
Correct.
if you see current one and next series,
Okay.
that kind of headings,
Okay.
that gives them more clarity.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
I just have a question regarding the data pack. So, which data pack should I use to use this option desk?
Look, like I mentioned, okay. So right now, what we are doing is the price chart is associated with your data pack. Okay. So if you have taken a spot, then the spot chart will update real time. If you've taken a futures, the futures chart will update real time. And if you have taken an options, the option chart will take everything other than the price chart, right? Like the options chain, payoff, volatility surface, all of that is getting updated on a real time basis for all subscribers. So it doesn't matter if you have taken spot or futures or options, we are actually giving you live feed for the remaining rest of the entire uh, platform. It's just that the chart component is now just associated with the data pack that you have taken. For every other component, it's getting real time updated with whatever It doesn't matter what, even if you have taken a spot, right, or a spot, even then the option chain will update on a real-time basis.
Okay. Another question is it possible to trigger basket order? For example, if I
Yeah,
have
that
four
that
legs. Yeah.
yeah, like I mentioned here, right, whenever you take a position, let me go back. Suppose suppose I take a position like making it up, say say this one, I don't know what it is, long call. Okay, I'm not a trader, guys, but you know, I'm just trying giving you a sample example. Say long call spread. Yeah, long call spread. So I'm going for a long call spread. So once I take a position, right, it will show up here in the strategy builder. Okay, long call spread. So these are the two legs of the long call spread. Okay, now I want to do a basket trade. What I'm going to do is, right now obviously we have not yet enabled the integration with Fires, but once it's enabled, you will just click on this basket market order trade button. Okay, once you click on this basket market order trade button, the platform will automatically place market orders on all the legs underlying this particular strategy, which is long call spread.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. I just have one more question regarding this closing. Is it possible to close it partially? Because this is much useful while doing the adjustment.
Ye- Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe something that we can, at this point, I don't think so. No, I don't. When you say partial, right, you mean a particular leg you want to partially close?
Yeah. Yeah. For example, in this long or ratio call example, I got 75 long and 150 short, and I just want to close the 75 short.
Yeah, that is possible. Yeah. So you are closing one of the legs in the entire strategy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then what you do is you right click and you can say close position. You right click on that particular leg and you close the position there. Okay. So let's say you have taken, did you say 75? So what was the configuration you were using?
Initially, it's 150 and closing 75.
Oh, okay. So you had 150 of the same leg, but you want to close only 75 of them.
Only 75. Yeah.
Right now, probably that is not possible, but we should be able to come up with a feature like this in the in near future.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions, feedback, guys? So this is again a beta version, so there is a probability that certain things might be, not behaving the way I have explained this. So it would be helpful if you can bring it to our notice so that we can quickly get them fixed.
And just one wish. Is it? Do you have any plan for option simulator with the
Yes,
historical?
so we have a long list of wish list actually. So we would at some point want to have straddle strangle charts very soon, and we want to have an option simulator and a few other features which are only available in some of the applications that are used in the US market, like Think or Swim and Tasty Trade. So we have that also kind of part of our roadmap.
Yeah, I found some kind of bug or something. I don't know. Can you go to the normal one, um, normal chart, not this one.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Give me one moment, guys. So let me
Yeah,
stop the recording. So because this is
sure.